Hey, guess what? The left has become hysterical and unhinged again. Again, what am I talking about? They never stop. Here's a headline from the LA Times. LA unhoused advocates shocked and saddened by Joe Rogan's violent remarks. So what we have here is another case of a comedian making a joke and everybody pretending that it's not a joke from a comedian. But anyway, let's take a look at this.
And then we're on the underpass, and there's porta potties. Not one either, like four, like a deck of porta potties. And then someone has a car parked there on the sidewalk, like partly on the sidewalk. So they're like half blocking a lane. And then they have like a canopy draped over their car, and they have just stacks of shit. And then next to it was a dresser. They had a dresser.
Jesus.
So they had their shoes in a shoe rack. There was a shoe rack. Like, this is where they live.
That's really wild. I didn't know also that, you know, when you see stuff like that on the streets, at least in Los Angeles or maybe in California, that's protected property, like by law. You know that? Like if you were
so you're not supposed to do that.
But like that's that person's property by law. If you were to
the homeless person's property is protected?
Yes, absolutely.
Huh.
If you were to go and try to move that or take that,
you'd get arrested.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't arrest you if you shot somebody. Maybe you should just go and shoot the homeless people.
I like your ideas.
Yeah. And if nobody claims it, I mean, nobody does anything about violent crime in LA anymore. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
They're just letting people out.
So he's obviously making a joke, a very dark joke, but he's making a joke about how crime is completely out of control in LA and that the laws aren't enforced. He says you could just shoot anybody. It's okay. So, I don't know, a sane person might see that and go, oh, it's a comedian making a joke. Yes, it's a dark joke. You may not like it, but it's a joke. But the LA Times doesn't want to hear anything about that. But don't tell that to the LA Times. They're saying that advocates for LA's unhoused community are holding Joe Rogan accountable for encouraging violence towards unhoused people on his influential podcast. Now, is this journalist stupid enough to think that that's what happened? Maybe. Probably not. This is probably just another cynical attempt to cancel somebody they don't like. And they just never stop with the language, trying to change the language. Unhoused. That's unhoused now, not homeless. Unhoused. As if that makes any difference. You know, like, oh, this community used to be awful when it had all the homeless people in it. But now that they're just unhoused, everything's fine. It's the weirdest thing. It's just ignore every problem, just change the language around it. Somehow that fixes it. At some point, people have to look at their leaders and go, yeah, the emperor doesn't have any clothes. And actually, who knows? I mean, by that point, leftist politicians might just actually walk around naked. And just look at the pile-on here of people pretending to not understand what Joe Rogan was saying. Here's from Yahoo News. Joe Rogan's recent offhand remark to podcast guest Tom Segura that, quote, maybe you should just go shoot the homeless people in Los Angeles has left several of the city's unhoused advocates stunned and disheartened. That's right, because we're all idiots. And what are these advocates doing exactly? Just changing words? Because if they're trying to help homeless people to not be unhoused, they're not doing a very good job of it. I mean, maybe they're just advocating for living on the streets. Because if that's what they're working towards, well, that is working. How about this? After hearing Joe Rogan and Tom Segura joking about shooting homeless people, I hope with every fiber in my being that those words come back to bite them in the worst way. You, my friend, are an idiot. There's just so much idiocy. See what happens when you move to Texas? You become a heartless scumbag like Joe Rogan, advocating for the murder of homeless people. Good riddance, pig. You've lost your LA privileges. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine with that. And he's obviously not advocating. This is just virtue signaling. That's it. It's totally empty. There's no content here. So anyway, they're trying to cancel Joe Rogan again, and they're not going to succeed. Because it's all bullshit. And it shows you another thing about the left, too. I mean, Joe Rogan just insulted Trump. He called him a man baby. He said he didn't want to interview him because he didn't want to help him. That gained him absolutely nothing with the left. And I'm not saying that Joe Rogan said that cynically. I'm not saying he just said it to please the left. I'm just saying that the modern left, the woke progressives, are just unreasonable. The woke progressives are just a hive mind. And once you've been marked as the enemy, that's it. And they'll just keep on pretending to not understand what you're saying forever. Anyway, please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. It makes a big difference. Thank you for doing that. I'll see you next time.